Seattle, Washington. This is the Budweiser APBA Gold Cup Unlimited Hydroplane Race. Brought to you by Ford and your local Ford dealer. And by the new Walker Advantage Muffler. It puts rust at a disadvantage.
We're in Seattle, Washington, tucked up into the northwestern part of the United States for race number 7 of 1985. Hello, everybody. I'm Don Poyer. Welcome to Seattle. This is the home of unlimited hydroplane racing, where back in 1940, this three-point design boat was originally invented. And today, we're racing for the Gold Cup. It began back in 1904. It's the oldest, most prestigious trophy in motorsports history. This will be the 77th running. And some history can be made today. Chip Hanauer, driver of the Miller American, has won the Gold Cup 3 consecutive years. If he wins today, he'll be the first man in modern history to win it more than 3 consecutive years. Jim Hendrick is down there with Chip Hanauer, the driver, right now. Jim?
Being Chip, it is the Gold Cup. It is your hometown. Is there any added pressure?
Well, I think going for a 4th consecutive Gold Cup, there'd be pressure no matter where we were. But yeah, being home maybe adds a little bit. But on the other hand, it's more comfortable. You know, I get to stay at home in my own bed. I have my friends and family around, so that helps.
Speaking of comfort, it looks like it's a little rolly out there.
This is Seattle, and it's always rough here. You know, there's probably 3,000 pleasure boats out there tied up to a log boom, and with that many boats on that big a body of water, it's going to get, moved around.
And who won here last year, the Seattle Seafarers, Jim Cropfield of Miss Budweiser, and Don's with him right now.
Jim, you've won here the last 2 years, but you've got a new boat, a new Miss Budweiser, a lot of problems which come with a new boat, yet you've still remained competitive.
Well, we try very hard. We have a good crew. The guys are dedicated to making this boat run. We have a good sponsor, Anheuser-Busch Budweiser, and Bernie's willing to spend whatever it takes to get the job done, which it takes a lot of money on a new boat like this with the safety capsule, et cetera, et cetera. But if we had some more time between races, we could be a lot more competitive than we are, but we can only make some minor changes right now.
Well, regardless, you got a lot of heats today, being the Gold Cup 3 flights of heat, so good luck. Who knows what could happen.
That's right. If we can just be consistent like some of the other teams, finish all 3 heats, I'm sure we'll make the final.
Okay. Jim Cropfield, the Budweiser, and now to Jim Hendrick with a rundown of Heat 1A.
Okay, Don, all in all, 10 boats are qualified for the Budweiser APBA Gold Cup here in Seattle, and we have 5 coming out of the starting gate in Heat 1A. Here's the way they line up. George Johnson will be driving Domino's Pizza, the U30. He qualified at 107.094. Out of Madison, Indiana, Todd Jolly checked in with the Cellular One at 114.246. Jim Cropfield, who won the Seafair Trophy race here a year ago, 119.9 in Miss Budweiser. Tom Dean in the Square Shop Britannia at 128.8. And the fastest qualifier in this group, the German Miss 711, Steve Reynolds, at 139.633. And that's the way Heat 1A will line up. And how about, Don? How about Heat 1B?
Jim, this is the most boats we have had qualify in 1985. We have 5 boats in each heat. Here's a look at 1B. First of all, qualifying at 111.6 miles per hour, Jerry Hopp out of the Northwest in the Ovoy, Alberta. Next comes Andy Coker, qualifying at 112.8 miles per hour in the American Speedy Brennan. The Miss Rock KISW qualified at 114.5 miles per hour. Mitch Evans, the driver. Scotty Pierce, the national points leader in the Executone Telephones, qualifying at 124.5 miles per hour. And finally, the top qualifier, Chip Hanauer and the Miller American at 140.6 miles per hour. There's all 10 boats. We have 2 heats coming up. This is the 77th running of the Gold Cup. It's here in Seattle. The Unlimited's coming up after this. As the drivers prepare for Heat 1A, this is the beginning of a very long afternoon. They will be racing 6 laps instead of 5 in each heat, and there is an extra flight of heats. That's under the Gold Cup rules. So, like I said, a long day ahead. The first drivers to see action today, George Johnson making a return to racing. He drove the Executone Telephones last year. Todd Yarling picked up a 3rd place aboard the Cellular One last week in the Columbia Cup in Tri-Cities, Washington. Jim Cropfield of the Miss Budweiser, a winner in Syracuse in 1985. Tom Deeth in his 2nd race of 1985 for the SQUIRE Shop Britannia, 2nd place last week in Tri-Cities. And Steve Reynolds aboard the Miss 711, a winner in Madison, Indiana in 1985. And a final glance at the boats coming up in Heat 1A, the Miss 711 at almost 140 miles per hour, the SQUIRE Shop Britannia, the Budweiser, Cellular One, and Domino's.
10 seconds before the start of Heat 1A. They cannot cross the starting line before the clock expires. There's the 7-Eleven. It's Steve Reynolds. There's the gun. There's the starting line. Good start. 7-Eleven all alone. Lane number 4, as you see from high above the South Turn here in Seattle, Washington. Steve Reynolds in the turbine-powered Miss 7-Eleven. Around the South Turn, going down the back chute. 2.5-mile course, 6 laps. This is the Gold Cup, so they don't go just 5 laps, but 6, and they will go an additional heat before they get to the final late this afternoon. Second place, Tom Dees and the SQUIRE Shop Britannia. Coming into that north turn, it has been very bumpy up here during testing in the morning. The water has gone down considerably, but it's still a little nasty as we watch Steve Reynolds coming into that turn. Hear the whining of that turbine engine. Reynolds was looking for victory in Madison earlier this summer. In a dead heat right now with a Mid-American at Savannah for national points. In second place behind Executive Zone Telephone. There's the lead, the perspective. 7-Eleven on the bottom of your screen. The SQUIRE Shop Britannia in second place. Completing lap number 1. Speed for the Miss 7-Eleven. 127.2 miles per hour. Very respectable on this choppy water on Lake Washington. Reynolds in first, going down the back chute for the second time. We're in Heat 1A. Here's the Budweiser moving up into third place. Challenging the Cellular 1 and Todd Garlick. Garlick with the inside position, however. Garlick with the Allison supercharged engine going against the Griffin engine of the Miss Budweiser. Yeah, the Buds had problems this year, but they're still trying to work out the kinks, get the grumbles out of that new boat. Oh, look at the 7-Eleven jumping up into the air. That is one of the most stable boats in hydroplane racing, so that gives you some idea how treacherous it is in the North Turn here in Heat 1A. The 7-Eleven, Steve Reynolds. Amazing, the boat is still in one piece. The SQUIRE Shop Britannia. Pretty rocky for Tom Dees as well. The Budweiser on the outside coming into that turn. On the right of your screen, Cellular 1 and Todd Garlick out of Madison, Indiana. 2 of the drivers who are not from Seattle. Just about everybody else is racing in their backyard. Rockwell out of Cincinnati, Ohio. This is George Johnson in the Domino's Pizza. George making his debut in 1985, driving that boat for the first time. Budweiser still challenging Todd Garlick, trying to move into third place. 7-Eleven and Steve Reynolds out of Kirkland, Washington. His wife, Linda Reynolds, watching on from the dock. Tommy Dees out of Detroit, driving the Seattle-based SQUIRE Shop Britannia. In his second race, Tommy picking up a second place in the Columbia Cup, the Budweiser Columbia Cup last week over in Tri-Cities, Washington. At the opposite end of the state of Washington. Look at this battle between Todd Garlick and Jim Crockwell. A great battle between the Bud on the outside and Cellular 1 on the inside. Jim Crockwell with a little bit more acceleration now as they go down that rocky back chute where the waves come off of that log boom and it can get pretty treacherous there, as well as in the North Turn where Steve Reynolds is just coming out of and heading down the main chute. Second place again, Tom Dees in the SQUIRE Shop with those Berlin engines rumbling away. The Budweiser now into sole possession of third place. As Todd Garlick is dropped back a bit, Jim Crockwell in that enclosed cockpit. Steve Reynolds going into that south turn. You can see his head bouncing around quite a bit. It gives you some idea how choppy it is. He is strapped in with that 5-point belt system. Second place, Tom Dees. He is not strapped in. Doesn't believe in that kind of system anyway. He would rather be sitting in there and holding himself in. But here comes Steve Reynolds now, completing lap number 6, and he will pick up 400 points as the winner of Heat 1A in Seattle. So on a day when points are so important, the 7-Eleven picks up 400, but we understand that that boat has incurred some damage, not only to the tail, but the right sponsor. Let's go down to the pits and find out what happened.
All right, we'll try to find out right now, Don, what happened to the 7-Eleven. Notice that the vertical fin is all cracked up. What happened up there?
It hit the water, Jim. It's incredibly rough. This is the most treacherous course I've been on in 6 years. It doesn't matter where you are, what speed you are, 170 or 130. Look at the sponsor. That is nothing but water. It did that. And I never went over 160 miles an hour ever.
Can you get it repaired in time?
I don't know. I've just viewed that damage for the first time. It looks like it'll be real close.
Oh, it's going to be a lot of trouble for 7-Eleven, Don. Back to you.
Crew Chief Danny Waldo's getting his first look at the damage as well. The remains of that right sponsor, and it is indeed serious.
And it's no wonder. Look at the boat coming around the north turn. The right spots it 4 feet into the air, and it comes down as the wave is coming up. It's a miracle the right spots it is still there. 7-Eleven in trouble. We'll return to Seattle in just a moment. Don Boyer along with Jim Henrik, welcome back to the shores of Lake Washington. You see the boats heading out now for Heat 1B. This is Mitch Evans down the Miss Rock KISW. In the background, American Speedy Printing, Andy Coker going out. There's executive telephone with Scotty Pierce, the national point leader. And as the boats head out for the course, here are the drivers, Jerry Hopp and the old boy Alberto. Andy Coker out of Florida in the American Speedy Printing, the only conventional boat to be driving behind the motor. Mitch Evans out of Lake Chelan, Washington, driving the Miss Rock KISW. Joining the group, Scotty Pierce, as I said, on top of the mountain in national points for 1985. Only a 200-point lead. And Chip Hanauer, the top qualifier aboard the Miller American. Very quickly, looking at the qualifying speeds, again, Miller American at 140. Executone telephone for Miss Rock American Speedy and Aboy Alberto. Interesting shot. Very nice shot from our helicopter camera. You see the boats maintaining their lanes and getting ready for the start. We're under 10 seconds, down to 6 seconds. American Speedy printing a little too fast. Andy Coker slowing down. Here comes Scotty Pierce, 1 second. All the boats very safe for the start of Heat 1B. Here they come into the south turn. The turbine-powered Miller American from about lane number 3, scooting out in front of everybody as he goes around the apex buoy and heads for the backstretch. Lane number 3 is Miller American in first place. Executone telephone in second place, going down the back straightaway along the logboat. Chip Hanauer out of Seattle, first place. Here comes Hanauer now into the north turn. The water here still very bad. This boat sometimes almost appears immune to rough water. A Jim Lucero design boat. He is the team manager, co-owner of this boat. And it runs beautifully. The Seattle-based hydroplane in second place. Here comes the Executone telephones down the main straightaway now, completing lap number 1. Speed for the lead boat. Did you see the Aboy Alberto, the Miller American at 119.7 miles per hour with its Rock ISW Mitch Evans out of the water. Here's some of the Miller American crew. John Love on the right. Tiffany Banks is watching as well. An adopted team member, you might say. There's the Executone telephone crew. Their boat is in second place with Scotty Pierce. His speed for lap number 1, 106 miles per hour. Andy Coker and the conventional boats, the American Speedy Printing, the last boat on the circuit now, still has the engine in front of the driver. Again, on the second lap, is Chip Hanauer out of Seattle coming around that north turn. The boat gliding absolutely beautiful. The big air scoop above Chip's head, as well as on the side. You can handle that Lycoming 11. It's a huge engine with 4,000 horsepower. This is a piston engine-powered Executone telephone. American Speedy Printing and Andy Coker. An Allison engine out of a P-51 Mustang fighter. And this again, Jerry Hopp of the Aboy Alberto. Third place, American Speedy Printing. Back to the leader on lap number 3, going down the backstretch. You see all the pleasure cruisers out there. 3,000 to 4,000 boats out there. Who knows how many people. Just a wonderful day to celebrate hydroplane racing here on Lake Washington. Executone telephones walking back and forth on those buses going down the very tough rollers along the back chute. They'll bounce off the logbook, come back onto the course, and they're parallel with the direction of the boat, which can really drive the boat and the drivers crazy trying to maintain high speed and still battle those waves. Chip Hanauer, no problem for that boat right now. There's the builder and the co-owner, Jim Lucero, with a binocular studying the attitude of that boat as it goes down the back chute. He also built this boat, as a matter of fact. Executone telephones owned by Bill Worcester out of Seattle. American Speedy Printing looks like he's got a challenge right now by the Aboy Alberto. No, it's Chip Hanauer, the Miller American, about to lap Andy Coker. The Miller American had trouble with its engines earlier during testing this week. In fact, they blew up one of their Lycoming engines. They had to take the boat back to the shop. out in nearby Kent, Washington, about 20 miles south of here. They repaired the boat in time, no serious structural damage. They got it back, they qualified on Friday, and they were back in ready to go racing. Chip Hanauer hoping to pick up a fourth straight Gold Cup today. That will take place in the final if he can make it. He would pick up 400 points with a victory here, and would be well on his way to that final. Nobody has ever won in modern history more than 3 Gold Cups in a row. Chip Hanauer has done it. Bill Munsey did it back in his racing years. But he would be the first in modern times to win 4 straight Gold Cups. He's got a great shot at it today as he comes around the north third for the final time in Heat 1B. The winner, 400 points in 1B, the Miller-American, Chip Hanauer. And again, looking at the numbers, Miller-American with those 400 big ones. Second Jones Telephone in good shape. Keep in mind, they're all trying to get into the top 6 area and make the final. Let's go down to the pitch. Talk with Chip.
Well, Chip, I suppose like a football player, you get through the butterflies after the first good shot. I would imagine you got a few out there on that rough water.
Yeah, it's horribly rough. And I had to run pretty quick to keep the boat kind of aired out so I wouldn't beat it up to death. That's how it happened at 7-Eleven. We really didn't want that rough.
So the thinking is much like Detroit, go fast enough to stay over the boat.
Yeah, it's even, I think, harder here than Detroit. Frequency, meaning the duration of the waves are different, and it really beats everything up.
Meanwhile, members from virtually every boat camp are down at the 7-Eleven helping out. You can see them cutting strips of wood. They'll go on the bottom of the sponsor. They're called battens. A lot of people helping out. Let's see if they can make the second flight. You've seen the cliff divers of Acapulco. Well, these are the bridge divers of Seattle. Boy, are they going to get in trouble if they live through it. We'll return to Lake Washington. Oh, my goodness. In just a moment. Back to Lake Washington, one of our new boat sponsors, Domino's Pizza. Gee, looks like they're making a delivery.
Take it out the log road and get a big tip because the top log will run out here. And make sure it's in 30 minutes, okay?
All right, let's take a look at the rundown of Heat 2A. Here are the boats. Miller-American, Miss Budweiser, American Speedy Printing of Buena Verde, and Domino's Pizza making another delivery. Whoops, but not today. George Johnson, driver of Domino's Pizza, is already out of the cockpit. They couldn't get the engine started. So looking very briefly at E2A, 4 of the 5 boats started, and somewhat as expected, the Miller-American jumped out for an early lead with Chip Hanauer, averaging better than 118 miles per hour. They got the victory, Budweiser second. Here are the points now. Miller-American, a perfect day so far. Second place to Budweiser, then Buena Verde, American Speedy Printing, Domino's Pizza, unable to start. Looking at E2B, the 7-Eleven chose to sit out this dance to repair the right spots, and SQUIRE Shop Britannia went on to get the victory. You see the rest of the boats in this particular heat. The SQUIRE Shop Britannia went on to get the win. Executive Telephone broke down, did not finish. So after 2 full flights of racing, Miller-American, a perfect day. SQUIRE Shop Britannia had 700 points, and Miss Budweiser, you have 7 boats fighting for the top 6 spots, and the boat conspicuous by its absence, national point leaders, Executive Telephones, after breaking down in Heat 2B. Some of the 200,000 people here enjoying the biggest party in the Northwest. One of our cameras is right in the middle of it. We'll be right back. American Speedy Printing driver Andy Coker seems to have life by the tail, but a lot of work going on elsewhere. Executive broke down after 2B. They've got problems.
Danny, just keep working, but is it just strictly an engine change?
Pardon me?
Strictly an engine change?
Well, yeah, we've got some kind of a problem here, Don. We haven't been able to find it, so we get this engine in, and we're going to get after the system.
Across the pits, look at this pretty little owner of the Budweiser helping out the 7-Eleven crew, trying to get that right sponsor through. Still, a huge hole is got to be patched up. Looking at the draw for Heat 3A. None of the turbines are in this heat. It will be a good battle with the SQUIRE, the Bud, and Executive. Looking at Heat 3B. Good news, bad news. 7-Eleven more time to get ready, but they've got to go against the Miller-American. And again, from our helicopter camera, you can see the boats, all 5 of them, finding their lanes, getting ready to come down for the start of Heat 3A. The SQUIRE Shop Britannia, Tom D, Todd Downing, Cellular 1 in lane number 1. Here we go!
It's a good start. All the boats are safe as they go down to the south turn. Again from high above, it's the Budweiser and Jim Crutchfield in lane number 1 out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Lane number 2 is Executive Telephone. And in lane number 4, moving inside to about lane number 3 is Tom DeHeath and the SQUIRE Shop Britannia. What a beautiful turn as all 3 boats go around the south turn. The Budweiser with a brand new boat. A winner in Syracuse, New York, with Crutchfield at the wheel, holding on to first place. But here comes the Executive Telephone, the national point leader. Scotty Pierce moving into first place down the back chute. All 3 boats, SQUIRE Shop Britannia on the way outside. Now coming into that misty north turn. First there, Executive Telephone from our camera inside the north turn. What a shot! Second place, the Budweiser in lane number 1 on the way outside. Tom DeHeath out of Detroit, Michigan, driving the SQUIRE Shop Britannia. Scotty Pierce looks like they got their engine problems taken care of. There he goes, completing lap number 1. SQUIRE Shop Britannia moving up to second place now on the outside as the Budweiser is falling back a bit. Speed on lap number 1, 123.8 miles per hour for the Executive Telephone. Scott Pierce, he has only 300 points for the day. He needs a win very badly here in Heat 3A to get into the final. That would give him 700 for the day. That would put him in pretty good shape to make the top 6 and a run for the Gold Cup. Executive Telephone in its second year with this particular boat. Scott Pierce, the driver, in his first year with this boat. In first place and down the back chute. Second place, SQUIRE Shop Britannia. Again into that tough north turn where the breakers come back off the logbook, right back into the turn and right into the traffic. Beautiful shot as Executive Telephone comes down the main chute again. Second place again, Tom DeHeath and the SQUIRE Shop Britannia. Third place, Jim Crutchfield, the 1984 National Points Champion, driving that new boat, trying to work out the Griffin, and you know they will be competitive in just a matter of time. Executive Telephone crew watching. This is a local television station here in Seattle broadcasting the race, and this is the SQUIRE Shop Britannia crew watching the race from inside their own truck. Now, why not? There's their boat. Back to the back chute, Tom DeHeath giving chase to Scotty Pierce. Scott out of Seattle, and a driver from Detroit. Tom DeHeath and the SQUIRE Shop Britannia giving chase. Good old Detroit-Seattle rivalry. Reborn. More of the Executive crew just counting laps now. Average speed for the Executive 120 miles per hour. Fourth place, Sailor 1 is Todd Garlick. If they can hold on to fourth, he's got a great shot at making the top 6. Executive Telephone, though, is in first place. Scotty Pierce driving a whale of a good race. Whatever their problem was earlier, they seem to have ironed it out. I know the crew worked a couple of all-nighters trying to get these engines to and back in. They broke a number of them in the past couple of weeks. The Budweiser, third place. That's who put Crutchfield and company into the final with no problem at all. Todd Garlick out of Madison, Indiana. Jim Sedam, the owner of this boat out of Madison. Wonderful people, and I'm sure a popular racer with a fan, hoping to get into the final. Look at the Executive Zone, riding on that skid as he comes around again. That's just his own third. But more importantly, Scotty Pierce will pick up 400 points, 700 for the day. He could be in the final on the run for the Gold Cup later today. So looking at the numbers, Executive Telephone's on top of the heat. SQUIRE Shop Britannia, great day with 1,000 points. The Budweiser should be all right for the final. Moving on down the line. We understand, by the way, the Executive Telephone broke down coming back into the pits.
Let's find out now. Big excitement down here, Don, right now. Let's talk to the driver. Scott, 123, 123, 124. Did you run out of gas?
Yes, I ran out of gas when I went by the finish line. They gave me the checker, but I was lapping of Mitch Evans, and I wasn't sure. I thought maybe I jumped. I thought I'd red signal on our Executive clock, but I wasn't positive. I couldn't afford to take any chances, so I made an extra lap. And as you can see, if I do jump the gun, I won't complete the heat.
Over in the Cellular One camp, driver Todd Garlick's fans think he made the final. Could very well be. He has won a few points. Battle of the Turbines is next. Welcome back to Seattle. The Miller American heading out now for E3B in its first encounter with the 7-Eleven.
Look at this, Larry Gillespie from the Tempest Group getting the rope unwound from the propeller of the 711. Steve Reynolds waiting in the cockpit. Off he goes and is ready to meet the Miller and Company. Now keep in mind, the key here for the 711 is to get at least the second place, which would be 300 points and have 700 for the day to make it into the final. Keep an eye on the two turbines. All 5 boats running on the 2.5-mile course. The 711 with Steve Reynolds is in lane number 1. Good position. Right where he wants to be. The gun is sounded, and he's got the lead going across the starting line. In lane number 1 is the 711. In lane number 4 is the Miller American coming out all the way from lane 4, cutting down to lane number 2 as he has the acceleration and is able to do so. If you have a 5-boat lead, you can cut down the lanes into where you want to go. And in this case, lane number 2. And Steve Reynolds with a fabulous start as he goes down the back chute in first place. But he knows that it's outside him. Back there someplace, there he is. It's the Miller American in Chip Hanauer. The Miller American, the 711 here in first place. Reynolds knows that he's giving up about 1,000 horsepower to the Miller American and the Lycoming 11 turbine engine. Reynolds in first place. There you see from the camera mounted aboard the 711, you see what Steve Reynolds sees as he's coming down the main straightaway. Beautiful shot, the left spots is bouncing along the spray, coming up over the camera. The Miller American moving in a little bit closer now as they come into the south turn for the second time. Left speed for lap number 1, 127 miles per hour for the 711, 124 for the Miller American. These two boats running away from the other 3. 711, Reynolds still going down the back chute in first place. He knows that Chip Hanauer is back there. And what kind of a game is Chip Hanauer playing? We don't know. As I said, he has 1,000 horsepower more than the 711, and he may just be studying his competition, getting ready for the final coming up in the next heat. But the key again for the 711 here, even though Reynolds is in first place, is to get at least a second place finish, get 300 points, have 700 for the day, and go into the final, run for the goal against the man on his outside hip right now.